Good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of Luthorville. Well, this is it. This episode is the final step. This is all about finishing the interior of the tiny house. At least the major stuff. There's still some minor tweaking, but you're going to see most of the major stuff finished. So, before we get into that, allow me to ramble a bit in this video. I've been trying very hard. I do tend to ramble a lot. I know that. But I've been trying very hard to be very concise with my videos lately, making sure that I just cover the topic at hand. I don't want to kind of go off on other tangents, but since this is pretty much wrapping it up, I want to indulge myself a bit because, this is a big deal. I've been planning this project. I've been working on this project for almost 3 years now. Around, I'd say March, it'll be 3 years that I've been focused on getting property, getting a house together, which at first was going to be a regular brick and mortar home, and then kind of started to realize that the expenses of that were going to be pretty outlandish, so the idea evolved and changed. And now this is it. I got an update earlier this week, just about 2-3 days ago, from John at Tennessee Tiny Homes, and he was inviting me to come out next week to kind of finish things off and pick up the house. I responded and told him, I was like, whoa, hold on a second. I'm like, there's no way, because, out of courtesy to my employer, I should give him at least 2 weeks notice before I take vacation days and stuff like that. And this is Thanksgiving weekend. When I recorded this video was Thanksgiving weekend. So that means I'm not even going to be back at work until Monday. So I can't show up at work on Monday and go, hey, by the way, 2 days from now, can I take off and go to Tennessee? That would just be rude. So I want to try to push it out a little bit further so I can at least be courteous to my employer and let them know that I'm planning on going and all that sort of thing. And they actually know about this whole project, so they know it's coming, but I don't want to spring it on them with 2 days notice, because that's just not very polite. So, like I said, this is it. And it's very scary. I end all of my videos with that saying, if your ambitions don't scare you, they're not big enough. I really believe that. I think I mentioned this in another video a long time ago, that I originally heard that phrase as, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. But then someone pointed out that if your dreams scare you, they're nightmares. I was like, oh yeah, that's actually a good point. Maybe let's change it to ambitions, maybe. That's a little bit better. So that's the way that I've always kind of tried to live my life. I remember telling a friend many years ago, I said, one of my strongest motivating factors in life of fulfilling my dreams and getting things done and trying to accomplish stuff is death. And that sounds really morbid if you don't really understand my perspective on it. But the point is that life is short, and it doesn't matter how long we are here on this earth. I know for a fact that if I can live to be 105 years old, I am still going to be wailing against the dying of the light. I don't want to leave. This place is so incredible. And life itself, there are moments when you realize what a blessing life is. But for some people, we realize that almost every single day. And that's why this matters. That's why this is important. Because this is an enormous change in my own life. The biggest change that I experienced before this was simply moving to California. And I often think about, there's this movie Finding Joe, which was actually made by a filmmaker here in LA. It's a documentary about Joseph Campbell and the whole idea of the hero's journey, and how the hero's journey is, not only does it apply to all sorts of fiction, but the hero's journey is also applicable to our own lives. And not in a metaphoric sense, I mean in a literal sense. Let's pause here for just a second. I would like to actually show you the trailer for the film Finding Joe. It'll maybe help you understand a little bit more.
The most important thing that myths teach us is to go beyond the limits of our possibility.
Joseph Campbell was one of the leading mythology experts of all time.
He diagrammed all of our stories.
He finds this one story within all the stories that we can relate to no matter where you come from.
And he called it the hero's journey.
All the heroes, all the villains, they're all in there because they're all in here. This is where they come from.
In other words, we're not separate from the characters we see in our movies and in our novels. They are us. It's one journey. If this path of the hero's journey is fairly simple, why then is it that everybody isn't living it?
It's very difficult for a person with the media, with advertising. There's no creativity.
You end up on that treadmill and you can't get off.
We are each our own greatest inhibitors.
The one thing that keeps people small is their fears, or as Campbell says, it's their dragons.
It's a beast, it's a monster. I'll never forget seeing the ramp and this wave of fear just crashed over me.
It's going from an unsatisfying life to a satisfying life by pushing through the scariest things you can imagine.
I think people wake up to the fact that they're the hero of their own life when they get tired of being the victim of it.
This idea that our greatest selves are still hidden, and that what we do with our lives is what makes us heroes.
Once I saw what was possible with a skateboard in your hand, I had to keep going. I mean, I just wanted to fly.
This is it. This is what happens when we follow our bliss. Magical things happen that we couldn't have imagined.
Do something that gives you that moment.
But if you can do that, then you can achieve the impossible.
The great obstacle for most of us is ourselves. If we can overcome that basic fear, in Campbell's terms, we can all be heroes.
And one of the things that really struck me about the whole principle, the whole concept of the hero's journey is the idea that you have to die in order to be reborn. And they're not necessarily talking about a physical death, but they're actually talking about a metaphorical death. You know, you can't become a teenager until your childhood dies away, right? You can't become an adult until your teens die away. And that's an interesting way of looking at life, because it kind of helps you to be really excited about the next step, about the rebirth, and it helps you to not quite mourn the dying as much, because you realize it's just part of the process. For me, in my own life, there are aspects of my life that I've never wanted to let go of. You know, I have furniture that I'm putting in the tiny house that I've had since I was like 10 years old. I should get rid of it. You know, I could probably find a nicer dresser or something that would fit a little bit more appropriately. But I've got like things that, you know, I made stuff with my grandfather, you know, who passed away many years ago. And it's like, I don't want to get rid of it. You know, there's some of that nostalgia that you just want to hold on to. So this is absolutely terrifying to be finally making these steps, but at the same time, I have to do it because, I don't know, life in my apartment in Los Angeles, as great as it has been and as wonderful as things have been, it's kind of stagnant. And I felt the same way when I left Cleveland. You know, it's just like life was so bland. It was just nothing. And that's when you know it's time to move on, you know. So 3 years of planning, enough rambling. Let me show you how far we've come with the interior of Galatea Meridian. Here we can see the bathroom with a good amount of insulation installed there on the wall, and some of the wall is actually going up already. And here we can see one of the workers at Tennessee Tiny Homes putting up the rest of the wall in the bathroom section. This is looking from the kind of main living room area up into the bedroom, and you can see they kind of temporarily put the bathtub up there. This is looking through the front door into the living room area, and then on the left-hand side is the kitchen area. This is once again looking into the bathroom section, and it has some of the wall up for the bathtub and the shower. This once again is a living room looking towards the loft bedroom section. The bed will be right where the bathtub's at. So this is standing in the bedroom section and looking into the main living room. The door on the left is the main entrance, and on the right was the bathroom. This is the tool shed section in the back, just a storage shed in the back of the house. That right there is the hot water heater. And I was a little bit concerned because there's no insulation in this part, so I want to make sure that we get those pipes insulated properly. This is a really great shot. It shows you the ramps, and you can see the diamond plate on the ramp coming up to get the motorcycle up to the porch section. And here is the door of the tool shed. And you can also see the light there above the porch. And you can see some of the ramp again. This is standing on the porch looking towards the front door. Yeah. And this is once again looking in the front door. Now you can see the flooring is all installed, and there's a little step up that goes to the loft bedroom section. And here you can see an even better shot of that, standing in the living room looking towards the little loft. So there's a little step that goes up, and we can see all the lighting is installed, and the circuit breaker is on the left. Now we can see the circuit breaker on the right hand side, and this is in the loft section of the bedroom looking back towards the living room with the main door on the left. This is looking into the bathroom. I really hate that sink because I wanted the whole inside to be very rustic and wooden, and that doesn't look like that, but that's okay. I can replace the sink. And then this is the bathroom section, and that is the bathtub and shower area. And by the way, I also wanted to add, I don't know if you watched like the video before this one, but just in case you haven't seen that one, I wanted to explain that my truck that's way off in the distance there, I did that because I kind of wanted to give a little perspective on the size of my property. I don't usually do that in any of my videos, and it's kind of hard to grasp. It's sort of difficult to get your head around just how big 10 acres is. So where I'm standing right now, I am not at the edge of my property, probably about maybe 100 feet away or so. And my truck is actually parked on my property. And the property line is probably another good 100 feet beyond the truck at least. Yeah, so it's pretty big. And the distances out here are rather enormous. So I just wanted to clarify that if you hadn't seen the other video. Now you know what the truck is doing back there. So this is it, folks. That's all I have. I'm not going to be doing any more updates for a while because, as you can see, I have a massive amount of work to do. I mean, I still have to, it's all these little things that I just haven't gotten around to. Like I need to do stuff like get like a fire extinguisher, right? Now, I know you might be thinking like, well, that's not like a huge priority. Why would you worry about that? It actually is a big priority because it's not simply for safety reasons that I need one. Part of California state law for having a recreational vehicle is that it has to have a fire extinguisher. So when I get my tiny house and I go take it to the DMV to officially register the thing as an RV, that's one of the things that could potentially make them deny the registration, right? Because they go, oh, you don't have a fire extinguisher, it's not. So hopefully they wouldn't do that, but I'm saying it's all those sort of little details that you got to worry about, that you have to research, because, you know, you don't want to go to all that trouble, take the time off, go to the DMV, and then have them say, no, sorry, you're going to have to come back again. So I am trying, as they say, to get all my ducks in a row and make sure that I've taken care of all of this stuff that I have to do before I go pick up the tiny house. So, but man, as freaked out and as scared as I am to finally be moving ahead with this process and be leaving the apartment I've been in for 13 years, it's still very exciting. It's very exciting, it's very cool, and I'm really looking forward to all of this. And it's such a beautiful night. It's a nice golden hour light we have here out in the desert, and it's a perfect day. There's no wind whatsoever. It is just dead quiet, dead still. You know, some of my other videos you might see where I'm like my hat's almost blowing off. It's a little too windy out here sometimes. And this is just so peaceful and serene, and the temperature is fantastic. It's like about 63, 64 degrees. So not too hot, not too cold. I'm super comfortable in this. I'm not sweating to death like, you know, when I'm lugging my tripod and the camera and everything out here. It's fantastic. So this is it, man. This is the last video that I will be making here at Luthorville without my tiny house. From this point forward, I should always have it. So yeah, I'm very freaked out, but very excited. So as always, if your dreams and ambitions and aspirations and hopes do not scare you, then they are not nearly big enough. Remember that. Don't forget it. I repeat that at the end of every episode for a reason. You know why? It's because of you. No, not that person. They're never going to do anything with their lives. They're just watching this for fun. I'm talking about you. You see, you are the one that knows that you have something special to do. And you've gotten the message many times, haven't you? Different movies, different books. It's not a coincidence. We are trying to tell you something. You're going to make a positive difference in this world. You're going to do something amazing. But it's going to be terrifying. So don't worry about it. Hang in there. Because this beautiful and amazing place, it needs you. And it needs what you are going to contribute. Don't forget that.